Before I jump into episode 9, I'm just going to do a quick recap of season 3 so far. I think most people watching the show have already seen the first 2 seasons, so I won't go over that. If you are watching season 3 and you've skipped the first 2 seasons, you're missing a lot of character development, but you've probably caught on to the storyline that's been carrying on into season 3. Basically, season 1 is, it's pretty good. Season 2 is just... For what season 2 lacks, season 3 definitely made up for. We start off in season 3 with a time jump from season 2. This allowed the group to resolve any unsolved issues between them, especially Shane's death. And it also made Laurie's situation with her pregnancy a bit more imminent. The relationships between different characters has also changed quite a bit over the season 2 time gap. We see Daryl is taking a lot more of an active role in the group. He's less closed off and he's more compassionate. Rick and Laurie's relationship has become very strained, and Rick even resents Laurie to an extent. Maggie and Glenn, who are a very popular couple, I actually found them quite annoying in season 2, but now they seem okay. So the group are able to effectively clear out a prison of zombies and prisoners, and Herschel loses a leg. We're introduced to the governor and the sort of civilized paradise he has created. The governor and his men forcefully take Andrea and Michonne into their care, but say they can leave anytime they want. Merle's back, finally. I waited a whole season and a half for this to happen. The writers taunted us a bit in season 2 by having Merle appear, but only in Daryl's hallucination. We see that Merle is now working for the governor, but he hasn't really changed. The governor initially seems like quite a nice guy. We all know he's got a darker side. Saying that though, so far in these 8 episodes, I sympathised a lot with the governor, more than I thought I would. Most of his actions haven't actually been that bad. We do see that as a group of armed civilians, they do tend to kill and torture people, but the governor does this all in the interest of protecting his own people. The governor also has a research lab and zombies being kept alive. It's a little bit like Herschel's barn in season 2. One of the zombies is the governor's daughter, who he keeps in his house. It's a little bit creepy, but it is his daughter. He still has hope that maybe they might find a cure for her. Michonne leaves the governor's camp whilst Andrea decides to stay. The governor then sends Merle after Michonne to go and kill her. I understand why the governor does this, because he doesn't really want anyone to know their location in the camp if they're not going to stay. It's quite easy to see the governor as a bad guy, but it's the sort of ruthlessness you need to show to be able to survive in this world they now live in. Back at the prison, a chain of events leads to zombies roaming around again. Maggie, Carl and Laurie end up trapped in a room, and unfortunately Laurie has to give birth at that exact moment when Carol isn't there to actually help deliver the baby. Despite me wanting Laurie dead most of last season, it was actually quite sad. It was effectively done, especially because Carl had to watch and then kill zombie Laurie. There was that scene where we saw a flashback of Rick talking to Carl about death, which was really well placed in this episode. It was also heartbreaking when Rick found out that Laurie was dead. I was this close to crying, but I didn't, so don't worry. Laurie's death also completely overshadowed T-Dog dying in the same episode. I actually forgot T-Dog had died and only remembered when I saw Glenn digging graves in the next episode. Like, why is there more than one grave? Anyway, T-Dog died as he lived, being completely ignored. He died to save Carol, so at least it was honourable. Daryl's the one who then finds and rescues Carol a couple of episodes later. I think Carol is an okay character, but she definitely deserves to stay in the show just because of her relationship with Daryl. Michonne meets Rick's group at the prison. She is only taken in because Carl convinces his dad. I think Carl's got a really good balance about him this season. He's willing to make hard decisions and has good leadership qualities that he's learned from Rick. At the same time, he's got a compassion for people that Laurie had. His mum actually said to him before she died, "Don't let the world spoil you," which basically means don't turn into your father. At the same time, Maggie and Glenn have been captured by Merle and taken back to the governor. The governor also asks Merle if he did indeed actually kill Michonne. He tells him he did just so the governor gets off his back, but we all know she escaped. This white lie has major consequences later on. Merle has been given permission to torture Glenn to find out where his brother is, but Glenn doesn't give anything away. Though when Glenn's life is threatened in front of Maggie, she actually tells the governor's men that the rest of the group are at the prison. The governor is worried about Rick's group because they emptied an entire prison of zombies. Is it just me, or do these zombies seem quite easy to deal with? It's like level 1 of Black Ops. The ones in World War Z now, they look scary. Though, to be honest, I'll die very quickly in a zombie apocalypse, no matter what the walking speed was of the zombies. Rick organises an assault team to go and save Glenn and Maggie. He leaves Herschel, Beth, Carol, baby Judith and Axel with Carl to protect them. Rick, Daryl and Oscar are able to bust out Glenn and Maggie. While this is happening, Michonne goes to find Andrea. Instead, she finds the governor's zombie daughter, who she kills just as the governor is walking in. I couldn't help but feel sorry for the governor. He obviously hasn't accepted his daughter becoming a zombie. So from his point of view, Michonne just killed his daughter. So he's obviously a bit pissed off. Michonne and the governor fight, and Michonne ends up blinding the governor in one eye. Andrea then comes in and saves the governor by holding Michonne at gunpoint, then letting her run away. Whilst this is happening, a massive shootout between the governor's men and Rick's team is taking place. This is when Daryl first finds out that Merle is still alive. He's a bit bewildered by it. Daryl provides cover fire so the others can escape, except Oscar. He dies. Then Daryl gets captured. The governor, who is really angry now, accuses Merle of being a terrorist. If you remember earlier, Merle told the governor that he killed Michonne, but that same Michonne killed the governor's zombie daughter and blinded him. The governor assumes that Merle is a spy working for Rick, which would make sense as his brother Daryl is with Rick in that group, and the governor knows this. As punishment, the governor reunites Daryl and Merle, but it looks like he's going to make them fight to the death, and then the episode ends. We were also introduced to a new bunch of characters, including Tyrese, the new token black guy. They're in the prison, carefully locked away by Carl, who is being kind by letting them in, but at the same time being cautious by separating them from his group until Rick gets back. So far, Season 3 has been really fast-paced and really enjoyable to watch. It's less of an emotional drama than Season 2 was. I think Season 2's purpose was to slow down the pace of the show, so we bond the characters. Though for me, they just got a lot more annoying. There was a lot of development in Season 2 that the characters needed to get through, which therefore went on to make Season 3 a lot more entertaining. I really like how the show is dealing with two storylines at the same time. You may have one episode with Rick at the prison, but then you would have the next episode purely based on the governor. It gives the show a lot more content to play around with. The main theme for me in the last few episodes has been loyalty. Is Daryl going to choose Rick and his friends over Merle? Rick actually questions Daryl about his loyalty, and Daryl responds that he's with Rick, though he did seem a bit unsure. The governor also questions Merle about his loyalty to the governor, or is he going to side with Daryl later on? Merle tells the governor that his loyalty lies with him, though you can never trust what Merle says. Finally, we see Andrea also has a dilemma. We know she's romantically involved with the governor now, and she also slightly resents Rick and the others as she feels she was abandoned on Herschel's farm, and they didn't really try that hard to look for her after they knew she was missing. I'm thinking she might actually stay with the governor for the time being. The biggest talking point in this season has been the governor versus Rick. A lot of obvious comparisons can be made between the two, as they both suffered big losses this season. They're also both leaders who care so much about their followers, they're letting their dark sides take over so they can protect them. I think the only difference between the two of them is that the governor has a greater following and more people that he's in charge of. I think this detaches him from the rest of his group slightly, as he has more of a political role, while Rick has a more personal relationship with his group. Since the governor has more men at his disposal than Rick does, this means that even though he gives the orders, he never actually has to get his hands dirty. That's why he has Merle, even though Merle only has one hand, but you know what I mean. Because the governor is in a more comfortable position than Rick, he's been less traumatized, and I think he's overall a lot more stable a character. But saying that, now that he's lost his daughter, I think his mask is slipping and he may not be able to control his anger anymore. Rick and the governor haven't actually met yet, but I'm really excited to see when they actually do. because they do have very similar ideals, but I'm not sure if that means they would get along or they are so alike that they would actually hate each other. I'm going to watch The Suicide King now. You'll see my reaction in a sec. So that was episode 3. As I said, loyalty is an important theme at the moment. The governor asks Merle to show his loyalty to him by killing Daryl in hand-to-hand combat. Merle, without a moment's hesitation, attacks his brother, saying he'll do whatever it takes to prove his allegiance, but he whispers to his brother to follow his lead. Luckily, Rick and Maggie then come in all guns a-blazing, throwing smoke grenades, allowing Daryl and Merle to escape. As Rick, Daryl, Maggie and Merle run off together, they leave a hole in the fence, allowing zombies to enter the governor's town. Rick isn't happy that Merle's with them, but he doesn't really have a choice at that point. Merle especially isn't popular when they meet up with Glenn and Michonne again. Rick and Daryl actually have to protect Merle at that point. While Merle is actually antagonizing Michonne, he reveals that Andrea is still alive to Rick and the others. Merle proceeds to provoke them a little bit more, and then Rick thankfully knocks him out. I really like Merle, and I know he's probably not going to last long in the group, but he makes all the other characters so angry, it creates a really interesting group dynamic. Tyrese and his group are conversing with the others back at the prison. They talk about their ordeals, and we're introduced to all of Tyrese's group properly. Herschel warns them that there are others in his group who may not want them there, so they shouldn't get comfortable. Rick, Maggie, Glenn and Daryl talk about what's going to happen with Merle and Michonne. They all agree that Michonne is too unpredictable to have in their group. Rick, Maggie and Glenn, for obvious reasons, also don't want Merle around. Daryl says that him and Merle are blood, so if they don't let Merle into the group, he's going to leave as well. This surprises the others, especially Rick, who tries to convince him to stay, but he ends up leaving with Merle. Rick is obviously stressed out by this because he knows the governor will be after them soon. They lost Oscar last episode, and now they've lost one of their most valuable group members, so they don't really have many fighters left. Back at the prison, Tyrese's group, which is made up of Tyrese, Sasha, Ben and Alan, are burying one of their blatant group members. Ben and Alan suggest that they should take over the prison while they can, taking advantage of the kindness they received, whilst Tyrese and Sasha think they should try and join the group if they can. Glenn is obviously quite angry at the whole situation that previously took place, showing him by going all Ryan Gosling on one of the zombies. He argues with Rick, saying it was a waste of time going back for Daryl and they should have killed Merle. Back in the town, chaos is breaking out, people want to leave but the guards are refusing to open the gate. A few zombies that got in through the hole that Rick and the group escaped from, they end up eating a few civilians. Andrea and the guards kill the zombies, though they don't know what to do about one of the half-eaten men that's still alive. The governor then appears, shoots the guy, then goes back to his quarters. The governor is grieving and is completely shut down. I think this is similar to when Rick had his breakdown a few episodes ago, though luckily Rick had the strength of character to come back. This was mainly because he had Carl and baby Judith, plus a whole group of very close friends to support him. Since the governor is so detached and has lost everyone from his past life, he doesn't really have that support Rick had. So I'm thinking the governor's dark side may take over now. Rick, Maggie and Glenn make it back to the prison, where Rick breaks it to Carol that Daryl has left with Merle, and that they're probably not coming back. She's obviously upset and doesn't understand why he would leave without at least saying goodbye. Herschel then tells Rick about Tyrese and their group, though Rick doesn't really want to deal with it right then and there. He even walks right past Tyrese's group without even saying a word to them. Beth hands Rick baby Judith, and the baby starts to cry, which makes Rick very uncomfortable. I think the baby still reminds Rick of Laurie's death, and he doesn't really want to deal with that yet. Andrea confronts the governor, saying that he should comfort his people and become a leader again. The governor is obviously too focused on revenge, and even reveals to Andrea that they had Glenn and Maggie prisoner, and that's why her old friends came back to get them. The governor is being really distant and cold to Andrea, to which she responds, "Don't drive me away, not now." This suggests that she's actually going to choose to stay with the governor, even though she knows her old friends are still alive. At the same time, when Merle told Rick, Glenn and Maggie that Andrea was still alive, they didn't really consider going to get her back, they were just surprised. So this suggests that Rick and all the others have done their grieving for her and they're not really concerned about her anymore. And to be fair, last season she did keep complaining and wanting to kill herself, so maybe they don't want her back. Milton is trying to calm down the angry crowd who want the governor to explain why he just heartlessly killed a member of their group. Andrea makes an uplifting speech and gets everyone's spirits back to normal. The governor is watching her like the Phantom of the Opera from his window. I said earlier that the governor doesn't really have anyone to support him while he's grieving, but maybe Andrea can actually be that rock for him, who knows. There's a scene between Carol and Beth where they discuss how Daryl left. Carol is deeply hurt but says that he's stuck by his brother and Daryl has a strong moral code that you don't really see much these days. Beth is worried that they're too weak without Daryl. The only really ones they have that can protect them are Rick, Glenn and Maggie now, with Carl and Axel at a huge stretch. So Carol suggests that maybe Tyrese and his companions, they might be a good addition to the group. Maggie and Glenn are being distant with each other after what Merle has put them through. Herschel actually notices this and gives them both some words of wisdom. He tells Glenn that he is like a son to him, and he also goes to tell Maggie that she is sometimes a bit too stubborn with Glenn. Later on, the group discuss about how they are dwindling in numbers and they're very exposed if the governor should choose to attack at any point soon. Herschel and Carol convince Rick that they should give Tyrese and his group a chance. Rick, against his better judgment, looks like he's going to agree to this, but then he starts getting schizophrenic and shouting at an imaginary lorry, and it creeps everyone out. Tyrese and his group then leave of their own accord. So Rick is still seeing dead people. He saw Shane in the gunfight last episode as well. He definitely doesn't look fit to be a leader at the moment, but the others don't really have a choice but to follow him. When Rick had his last breakdown, Daryl was there to kind of take the lead, but now that he's gone, we better hope that Rick can keep it together for everyone's sake. So that was another gripping, exciting episode. I'm looking forward to seeing how all the storylines develop now. We've got crazy Rick at the prison, we've got the crazy governor back in the town, we've also got Merle and Daryl gallivanting around doing their own thing now, and I'm positive that Tyrese and co won't be out the show just yet. I generally have no clue what is going to happen next. Make sure you catch the next episode. It's called Home and it airs on the 17th. You'd be crazier than Rick and the governor combined if you miss it, alright? So thanks for watching.